So Chris, you were president in 2004, 2005, the first elected president. What led you to become a Rotarian initially?
Well, I've been in Rotary for about 15 years now, and I was always involved in community service events, very often through music actually. I play at various functions, National Trust, NCVO. I used to be one of the original acts for the NCVO Radiothon, and past President Chris Evans of the Grand Cayman Club, I was friendly with him actually, and he said, "Oh Chris, would you be interested in coming to Rotary?" I said, "I don't really know a whole lot about it, apart from the fact that you guys appear out on Saturdays digging holes in things." And anyway, I went along and I was duly inducted, became a member in the Grand Cayman Club. Subsequent to that, there was a suggestion that it was becoming difficult for people to meet on a Thursday afternoon, which is midday, Thursday midday. Traffic was getting bad. People's days were taken up travelling backwards and forwards. Quite a few people said, well, we'd be interested if there was something in the morning, if we could go to Rotary before work, that would be ideal. And hence, I think that spawned the idea of having Rotary Sunrise. So I was one of the founding members, the charter members of Rotary Sunrise, and I was the third president to be elected.
So 2004, 2005, you get hit with Hurricane Ivan. How did you and the club deal with that?
Isn't that something? One thing that's interesting about Rotary, and sometimes we don't always let the members know this, but there's a lot of planning before your year comes into being. You have your board and you sit down and you have to work out your plans. One of my plans, and I guess you have to be careful for what you wish for. I said one of the things I really wanted to do was to have a project that we could involve the other Rotary clubs. I wasn't anticipating something like Hurricane Ivan. It was a big challenge. We had our plans together, projects that we were going to embark on, and of course they were knocked away. There was one big project, and we realised that it was such a big situation for Cayman that the three then presidents of the Grand Cayman clubs, President John Elliott, who's now just joined us, Ray Whitaker and myself, we said, well, the problems we're facing are too big for one Rotary club. So we got together and we thought, okay, how do we deal with this on our own club basis and also for Rotary itself? Dealing with the Rotary club aspect, I realised how ill-prepared we were. We didn't know who would be here. I didn't know whether people were safe, whether they'd left the island, how I could communicate with them, because the only means of communication was Radio Cayman. There was no TV, telephone was difficult, and the big problem we had was that I didn't know where our members were, whether they were here, whether they'd gone away, whether they were safe, etc., etc. We had a membership then of about 50-something odd, and we used Radio Cayman, which good old Radio Cayman, they were live the whole time, during, after, and I put out a message that we would be having our meetings, starting our meetings again. We only lost a week actually. That first week was bad, and the week after that we got people back together again. And we had the meetings in my office, which was falling apart a little bit because we had some damage there. Couldn't have them in my house because my house was bad. That had to be gutted. But bit by bit we got people back, and word of mouth worked where people weren't listening to the radio. And what I have to say about that year, we would have 100% turnout to our project. Our project was basically doing a lot of work, say in Bodden Town for example, which was badly hit, went down there, did a lot. The focus obviously was on the recovery, and we put out an appeal for funds to help, and we raised approximately $1.3 million, which we used to a large extent in Bodden Town and East End for recovery there. We had our meetings, John, Ray and myself. We would meet every week and we'd work out how to disperse the funds. It was a difficult one because it's not always easy to know who is a deserving cause. Rotary tends not to be an organisation that deals with individual situations. There's problems that can occur if you try and take that one on board. But this became a community issue with a lot of individuals having problems. But we were very fortunate. We had people in those districts who were able to join us and say who was considered to be a worthy cause. It was a big eye-opener for me. I think also what I found, you can't prejudge people. Some people you think are going to be extremely good in a crisis, and they're not. Other people you think would just be hopeless, but were magnificent. I think that's really, it was a unique time. I suppose we didn't have to spend a lot of time thinking about projects at that point because it was all there.
So how have you seen the club change since your year as president?
Dramatically. As I say, we had about 50 members. We're now 100 plus or minus a few, because we do have people leaving, people coming, people going. I think one of the problems that we have to be a bit careful of is not to let our club grow too quickly with too many members. I know Rotary International say you've got to increase your club membership, which I think on a macro basis is right. A lot of clubs don't move, they don't change. But in our case, we don't really have a problem with prospective members coming along. And I'm not saying anything wrongly about the members. I'm not saying that they don't contribute, but we have to be a bit careful. I'll be honest, there are times when I go to our meetings and I look around and I think, is that person a member or somebody's guest? Which is not good. I think to an extent we've lost the personal touch that we had. As I say, with 50 members and a crisis, we were all like one big family. I don't feel we're one big family now. I think that we've got factions, some factions developing in the club. I don't like to see people sitting in the same seats week after week with the same groups. I know it can tend to happen. Some people like the security of the same spot. I think what we need to do a lot more of is to move around and meet the new members and make the new members feel welcome. It's fairly intimidating. The procedure at a Rotary meeting is quite scary at first. There's a lot of traditional aspects to it, which are fine, but it can be intimidating to some people. Not everybody is going to have the charismatic character to break through that. Some are going to be quite afraid of it and not want to give their all to it and give their input fully. I'm not criticising the club. It's great. It's an amazing success story. We've just grown and grown and grown, but I think we've just got to be a little careful that having got people on board, we need to look after those members, get them involved a lot more than perhaps we're doing. It's not just a number crunching exercise.
Thank you, Chris.
You're very welcome.